You've been lied to about saving money. Every finance guru told you to cut your daily coffee, skip the avocado toast, cancel Netflix, and after 6 months of doing all that, you saved maybe $300. Meanwhile, rent went up $400, your car insurance doubled, and you're still broke. Here's what nobody tells you. The saving tips that actually work have nothing to do with cutting small expenses. They have everything to do with understanding one simple truth. Your brain is wired to sabotage your savings, and until you fix that wiring, no budget spreadsheet in the world will save you. I'm going to show you which saving strategies actually move the needle, and more importantly, why the popular ones everyone talks about are designed to keep you stuck. Because the uncomfortable reality is this: most people who give you saving tips have never actually saved significant money themselves. They just repeat what sounds good. Let's start with why you're failing to save money. It's not because you lack discipline, it's because you're playing the wrong game entirely. Think about the last time you tried to save money. You probably opened a budgeting app, listed all your expenses, got motivated for exactly 4 days, then life happened. Your friend's birthday dinner, your car made that weird noise again, and suddenly your savings plan is dead in the water. This happens because most saving advice treats money like a math problem. Earn more than you spend. Simple, right? Except humans don't work that way. You're not a calculator, you're a collection of habits, triggers, and patterns you don't even notice. Here's the pattern most people miss. You earn $2,000, you spend $1,900. You feel proud of yourself for saving $100. Next month, you get a raise. Now you earn $2,300, and somehow you're still only saving $100. Or worse, you're saving nothing because your spending magically expanded to match your income. This isn't a coincidence. It's called Parkinson's law of money. Your expenses expand to fill whatever money you have available. And here's the brutal part. Most saving tips completely ignore this reality. They tell you to drink less Starbucks while your rent, car payment, and insurance premiums are eating 70% of your income. There's actual research on this from behavioral economists in 2025. They tracked spending patterns across income levels. What they found was disturbing. When people got raises, 92% of them increased their spending within 6 months, not on necessities, on lifestyle upgrades, nicer apartments, newer cars, more frequent dining out. The average person making $35,000 spent 68% of a $10,000 raise within the first year. They didn't save more, they just upgraded their life to match their new income. This is why lottery winners go broke, why athletes making millions end up bankrupt. It's not about how much you make, it's about the invisible force that pushes your spending to match your income. And cutting your coffee budget does exactly nothing to address this force. You can't budget your way out of a behavioral problem. You need a system that works with your psychology, not against it. Because right now, every time you try to save through willpower alone, you're setting yourself up to fail. And the reason why connects to something that happened in 1906 that changed everything about how we should think about money. The Pareto Principle. 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. And when you apply this to your spending, something fascinating appears. 80% of your total expenses come from roughly 20% of your expense categories. Not your coffee, not your streaming services, your rent or mortgage, your car, maybe dining out if you're eating out 5 times a week. Let me give you a concrete example. According to data from 2024, the average American household earning $60,000 spends about 34% on housing. That's $20,000 a year. Their car inclusions, including payment, insurance, and maintenance, eat another 17%. Call it $10,000. Already, we're at $30,000 from just 2 categories. Meanwhile, their Spotify subscription costs $144 per year. Their Netflix, another $200. All streaming services combined barely touch $1,000. Now, look at what happens when you focus your energy. If you refinance your mortgage and drop your interest rate by 1%, you save $200 a month. That's $2,400 a year. If you shop around for car insurance and find a better rate, you might save $50 a month, another $600 a year. Total effort, maybe 6 hours of phone calls and research. Total savings, $3,000. Compare that to canceling all your streaming services. Total effort, 30 minutes. Total savings, under $1,000. And you lost all your entertainment. Which saving strategy makes more sense? But here's what makes this principle dangerous. Most people optimize the wrong 20%. They spend hours cutting coupons to save $15 on groceries while completely ignoring the fact that they're paying $300 more than they need to on car insurance, or that they could refinance their mortgage and save $400 a month. The effort is the same, the return is wildly different, and most people choose the path that makes them feel productive while keeping them poor. Let me show you exactly what I mean with real numbers. Let's say your monthly expenses are $3,000. Housing is $1,300, car payment and insurance is $600, dining out is $400, groceries are $300, entertainment is $200, everything else is $300. Now do the math. Housing plus car plus dining out equals $2,300. That's 77% of your total spending from just 3 categories. If you want to save $500 a month, you have 2 options. Cut $500 from those 3 categories, or eliminate literally everything else in your life, including food. Most people choose option 3. They stress about the $2 coffee while their car payment is bleeding them dry. This is the first mental trap, focusing on what's easy to cut instead of what actually matters, and it's costing you thousands of dollars a year. Here's a real case from 2024. Financial advisor tracked a client making $75,000 who was struggling to save. This person canceled their gym membership to save $40 a month, cut out coffee shops to save another $60, stopped buying books. Total monthly savings, $130. Yearly, $1,560. Meanwhile, they were paying $1,900 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment in an expensive neighborhood because it was close to restaurants and nightlife they used twice a month. They could have moved 15 minutes away and paid $1,300 for a nicer place. Savings, $7,200 a year. They were leaving $5,600 on the table because moving felt like more work than canceling a gym membership. That's the trap. Optimizing for effort instead of impact, and it keeps people broke. Here's the uncomfortable question. When's the last time you actually shopped around for car insurance, called your mortgage lender about refinancing, looked at cheaper housing options? Never? That's what I thought, because those conversations are hard. They take time. They force you to confront the fact that you might be living beyond your optimal means. But here's the twist that changes everything. The effort required to save $500 by cutting your 3 biggest expenses is basically the same as the effort to save $30 by cutting coffee. 1 phone call, 1 afternoon of research, same energy investment, completely different results. This is where most saving tips reveal themselves as garbage. They tell you to optimize for convenience, not impact. Cut what's easy to cut, not what actually moves your financial situation forward. And you fall for it because it feels like progress. It feels like you're doing something. You're not. You're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Your housing cost is the iceberg, and you're too busy worrying about the minibar to notice. Now, here's where it gets worse. Even if you successfully cut your 3 biggest expenses, you're still going to fail at saving money because cutting expenses is only half the equation. The other half is something called the savings ceiling, and this is where most people hit a wall they don't even know exists. Your savings ceiling is the maximum amount you can possibly save, and it's capped by one thing: your income. If you make $4,000 a month, the absolute most you can save is $4,000. That's if you live in a cardboard box and eat air. Realistically, you can maybe save $800 to $1,000 if you're aggressive. But here's the problem. To save more than that, you need to earn more, and most people stop there. They think earning more means working more hours, getting a second job, grinding yourself into dust. That's one way. It's also the slowest, most painful way. Look at the numbers from real people in 2024. Someone making $40,000 a year with typical expenses can save maybe $4,000 if they're aggressive. That's 10%. Someone making $80,000 can save $16,000 using the same percentage. But here's what actually happens. The person making $40,000 works overtime, picks up a weekend job, and pushes their income to $50,000. They're exhausted, burnt out, and they're still only saving $5,000 because their expenses went up with the extra work. Coffee for the commute, more takeout because they're too tired to cook. Their health takes a hit. The actual way wealthy people think about this is completely different. They don't trade time for money. They trade money for time, and then they use that time to make more money. This sounds abstract, so let me make it concrete. You're working full-time. You want to start a side business, but you're already exhausted from your day job. So you spend your evenings and weekends building this business. For 6 months, you sleep 4 hours a night. You have no social life. Your health tanks, and you make maybe an extra $500 a month. Here's the calculation nobody tells you to do. You spent 6 months destroying your body to earn $3,000. That's $60 per hour if you worked 50 hours a week on it. Not bad, but also completely unsustainable. You're going to burn out, quit, and be back where you started. Now here's the alternative. You spend $500 to hire someone to do the parts of your business you hate. Video editing, admin work, customer service, whatever. That $500 buys you back 10 hours a week. You use those 10 hours to work on the high-value parts of your business, the parts only you can do. And suddenly, you're making $1,500 a month instead of $500. You slept 8 hours every night, and you didn't want to die. This is spending money to save money, and it's the most misunderstood concept in personal finance. Most people hear that phrase and think it's just an excuse to buy stuff. It's not. It's a strategic calculation. Will spending this money buy me time, energy, or capability that generates more value than the cost? If yes, spend it. If no, don't. Simple. But most people never even ask the question. They just default to doing everything themselves because they think that's how you save money. It's not. That's how you trap yourself at your current income level forever. Here's a real example from 2024. Research showed the average person spends 11 hours a week on household tasks: cleaning, laundry, grocery shopping, cooking. 11 hours. If you make $50,000 a year, that's roughly $24 an hour. If you could pay someone $15 an hour to do those tasks, you're freeing up 11 hours at a net cost of 9 hours of your work time. Now use those 11 hours to build a skill, learn something, start a side project. And here's what happens. Within 6 months, you've increased your income enough that the 9 hours you're working to pay for help is now worth more than it used to be. You've broken through your savings ceiling. But most people never do this because it feels wrong. It feels like you're being lazy, like you should be able to do it all yourself. That feeling is costing you tens of thousands of dollars, maybe more, and it's based on a completely outdated idea of how money works. The old model was trade time for money. Work harder, make more. The new model is invest money to create systems that generate time. Use that time to increase your income. Use that income to create more systems. It's a compounding loop, but you have to spend money to enter the loop. This is why most saving tips don't work. They're built on the old model. Cut expenses, hoard cash, never spend on anything. Meanwhile, people who actually build wealth are spending strategically to buy back their most valuable resource, time. And speaking of time, we're halfway through this video. If you're still watching, you're in the minority. Most people already clicked away, which means you're actually serious about fixing your financial situation. Good, because the next part is where we get into the system that makes all of this automatic. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Willpower doesn't work. You cannot rely on discipline to save money, because discipline is a finite resource. You wake up with a full tank. Every decision you make drains it, and by the end of the day, you're running on empty. This is why you can stick to your budget all week and then blow $200 on a Friday night. You ran out of discipline. Your brain said, screw it, and reached for the credit card. This isn't a character flaw, it's basic psychology, and the saving tips that actually work are designed around this reality. The system is simple. Remove decisions from the equation. Make saving automatic. Make spending require effort. Most people have this backwards. Saving requires effort, spending is automatic. Every time you buy something, it's one click. Saving, you have to log into your bank, transfer money, decide how much, where to put it. It's exhausting. Flip this script. Set up your bank account so that the day your paycheck hits, 20% automatically moves to a savings account you don't touch. Now you're only spending from what's left. You don't see the full amount. You don't miss it. Out of sight, out of mind. This is called paying yourself first, and it's the single most effective saving strategy that exists because it removes the decision. You can't spend money you don't see. Your brain adjusts to living on the remaining 80%, and suddenly you're making money without thinking about it. But here's where most people mess this up. They set up the automatic transfer and then immediately check their savings account every day, watch the number grow, get excited, and then when they need money, they transfer it back. The system fails because they stayed connected to the money. You need to make your savings genuinely hard to access. Not impossible, but annoying enough that you won't touch it for impulse purchases. Different bank, no debit card, takes 3 days to transfer. Whatever creates friction, because that friction is the only thing standing between you and blowing your savings on something stupid. Now pair this with expense tracking, and I don't mean obsessive budgeting where you log every dollar. I mean, once every 3 months, sit down and review where your money actually went. Pull up your credit card statements, categorize everything, and look for patterns. This is the quarterly review method. You're not trying to control every purchase in real time. You're looking at the big picture. Did I spend more on restaurants this quarter than last quarter? Why? Was it worth it? Should I adjust next quarter? These are the only questions that matter. Most people skip this step because it feels tedious. It's not. It takes 1 hour every 3 months, and it saves you thousands because you catch the leaks before they become floods. That subscription you forgot about, the insurance that auto-renewed at a higher rate, the dining habit that slowly crept up from $200 a month to $600. You don't see these patterns in real time. You only see them when you zoom out, and once you see them, you can fix them. But if you never look, they'll bleed you dry forever. Now here's the final piece most people miss. The trigger rule. You don't spend money randomly. You spend it in response to specific emotional states: boredom, stress, loneliness, frustration. And until you identify your triggers, you're going to keep sabotaging yourself. Think about the last thing you bought that you didn't need. What were you feeling right before you bought it? Were you scrolling because you were bored? Did you have a stressful day at work? Were you avoiding something? There's always a trigger. Always. Most people never connect the dots. They just think they like shopping or they have bad impulse control. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is your brain learned that spending money gives you a dopamine hit, a temporary relief from whatever negative emotion you're feeling. And now it's using shopping as an emotional regulation tool. This is why cutting expenses through willpower fails. You're not fighting a spending problem. You're fighting an emotional coping mechanism, and you can't win that fight through discipline. You need to replace the behavior with something else. Here's how. Make a list of free activities you can do when you feel the urge to spend. Read, exercise, call a friend, play a game, watch something, whatever works for you. Then make a rule. When you want to buy something, do one thing from the list first, then revisit the purchase in 30 minutes. 90% of the time, the urge will pass because it was never about the item. It was about the feeling, and you gave your brain an alternative way to deal with that feeling. This is the only long-term solution to impulse spending, not budgets, not apps, replacing the behavioral pattern. But even with all of this, there's one more trap, the comparison trap. You're saving $1,000 a month. Your friend is saving $3,000. Suddenly, your progress feels worthless. You start questioning if you're doing enough. And that doubt kills your momentum. Here's the reality. Your friend might make twice what you make. They might have no debt. They might live with family and pay no rent. Their situation is not your situation. And comparing yourself to them is like comparing your chapter 3 to their chapter 20. It's meaningless. The only comparison that matters is you versus past you. Are you saving more this quarter than last quarter? Yes? Then you're winning. That's it. That's the only metric. Because personal finance is called personal for a reason. Your goals, your timeline, your circumstances. Nobody else's. And here's the uncomfortable truth that ties all of this together. Most saving tips don't work because they're designed to sell you something, a course, a book, an app. They're designed to make you feel like you're making progress while keeping you stuck. The tips that actually work: automate your savings, cut your 3 biggest expenses, review quarterly, identify your triggers. No secret strategy, just behavioral psychology applied consistently. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Do you want to feel like you're saving money, or do you actually want to save money? Because those are two very different things, and most people choose the first option without realizing it. If this made you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort means you're finally seeing the pattern. The question is what you do next.